Hello everybody and welcome back to One Nerd to Rule Them All. In today's video, we'll be unpacking the origins of one of the many races of the free peoples of Middle-earth. Known for their small stature and burrows under the ground, and of course their great distrust of adventures, we are starting with the Hobbits. So, without further ado, let's get into the video. The humble Hobbits were a small race that typically dwelt underground, believed to be related to men. Hobbits were between 2 and 4 feet tall, with differences between male and female. On average, the males were 3 feet 6 inches, whilst women rarely exceeded 3 feet. They had short legs, slightly pointy ears, and furry feet with leathery soles, resulting in most never wearing shoes. Compared to the dwarves, they are a bit shorter and less stout or stocky. Early in their recorded history, Hobbits were divided into 3 kinds with different customs and temperaments. The Stoors grew facial hair and had an affinity for water, as well as boats and swimming, and wore boots. Perhaps the most memorable of these Stoor Hobbits was Smeagol and Deagol. Then you had the Fallohides. The Fallohides were fair, tall and slim, and adventurous people. They were friendlier and more open to outsiders. Their lines can still be seen in the Bolgers, Tooks and the Brandybucks. Finally, we have the Harfoots. They were the most numerous and instituted the living in burrows. In later days, the Harfoot trait became the new norm. Hobbits had a lifespan somewhat longer than men of non-Númenórean descent, averaging between 90 and 100 years of age. The time of which a young Hobbit came of age was 33. The oldest living recorded Hobbit, except Gollum and Bilbo Baggins, whose lives were extended by the power of the One Ring, was the old Took, who reached the right old age of 130. By nature, the Hobbits were a gentle disposition, neither cruel nor vindictive. They were slow to quarrel, and never had been warlike, and never fought amongst themselves, nor hunted for sport. By the late Third Age, the Shire Hobbits knew of weapons only as trophies or useless trinkets. However, they were skilled with all kinds of tools, as well as arms when they were needed. They were keen-eyed and used a bow well, and also the stone successfully thrown against the trespassing beasts. Throughout their history, Hobbits had shown unparalleled skill, courage and also endurance, as well as resistance in times of danger and terror. During their wandering days, Hobbits demonstrated an easiness to adapt to the environments they visited, and adopted the customs and languages of the people they were in contact with. In the Shire, they had settled with a closed and comfort-living lifestyle. They were fond of an unadventurous life of farming, eating, smoking pipeweed, socialising, and talking about genealogies. Hobbits also liked to drink ales in inns, and ate at least 6 meals a day when they could get them. Every high day and afternoon, Hobbits celebrated a small holiday with evening feasts. However, their hidden potentials resurfaced in difficult times. In the long winter, Gandalf admired their uncomplaining courage and pity for one another, thanks to which they survived. Another example of Hobbitish hardiness and resistance nature was Gollum, who despite using the One Ring for years, did not transform into a wraith under the ring's evil power, unlike the 9 mannish kings. These surprising Hobbit traits also were tested and proven during the quest of Erebor, and more notably, the War of the Ring. Hobbits were universally monogamous. Both the male and the female were seen as equals but did share separate status. In the large powerful families, such as the Tooks, the head of what would be called the clan was the eldest male, or the most direct line of descent from the original. If the master died first, his titular headship of the clan was taken by his wife, and only after her death by their son. Chieftains and leaders of their clans and tribes were typically of Fallohide kind, as they were by nature more adventurous. The custom in the younger families was that when the head had no male heir, and the headship passed to the daughter's eldest son. In such cases, the heir took the name of his mother's family, while retaining the father's family name in second place. This was the case of Otho Saxville Baggins, who obtained headship of the Saxvilles through his mother Camelia. The Hobbits were known to be great gift givers. They generally exchanged gifts in form of payment for services, but also for thanking in favours and friendship. According to an ancient custom, a Hobbit baby, shortly after birth and its name announcement, was given a gift by the head of the family, as a token of accepting them into the family. Gifts then became a means of recognising family membership, and the head of the family ritually gave something, even if only a token, to the birthday celebrant. On its third birthday, a Hobbit child gave presents to their parents. That typically was something that they personally found or produced, made or grown. This may have been extended to other ages and relatives, resulting in the celebrant both receiving and giving a gift. Birthdays had considerable social importance, and customs were regulated by fairly strict etiquette, usually reduced to formalities. Hobbits did not have legends concerning their origin. Lacking better evidence, it suggested that they are a miniature variant of men, or a related branch. Nearly all scholars agreed that men were closely related to hobbits, far more closely than men were to either elves or dwarves. It was thus commonly assumed that hobbits were amongst the younger children of Ilúvatar, and were the result of the same act of creation of man. This would imply that hobbits had the gift of man to pass entirely beyond Arda. It is supposed that hobbits branched out from man as a race in the Elder Days. They don't appear at all in any of the chronicles of the elves. Their exact origin is unknown, but in their early days they could have been primitive and savage. Apparently they survived in Middle-earth for millennia, far from importance and the knowledge of stronger races. They came into the records no earlier than the early Third Age, where they were living in the Vales of Anduin in the Wilderland, between Mirkwood and the Misty Mountains. They had lost the genealogical details of how they are related to the rest of mankind. While they stayed there, the Northmen knew them. Their descendants, the Rohirrim, had the memory of the Hobbitalan, and they remained the objective of lore until they contacted them during the War of the Ring. While situated in the vale of the Anduin River, the Hobbits lived close to the Northmen. Sometime near the beginning of the Third Age, they were uneasy because of the growing numbers of alien men from the east, who passed the Greenwood and harassed the Northmen, and no doubt they also sensed the rising shadow of Dol Guldur. They took the arduous task of crossing the Misty Mountains, beginning thus their wandering days. Some of the Stoors, however, remained in place, and it is from these people that Gollum would come many years later. The Hobbits took different routes in their journey westward, and eventually they came to the land between the river Branduin, which they renamed the Brandywine, and the Weather Hills. Along the way, they founded many settlements. Most of them disappeared and were forgotten, and the divisions between the Hobbit kind began to blur. Only Bree and a few surrounding villages lasted to the end of the Third Age. In the year 1601, in the Third Age, two Fallohide brothers, Marcho and Blanco, decided to cross the River Brandywine and settle on the other side. Large numbers of hobbits followed them, and most of their former territories were depopulated. The new land that had founded on the west bank of the Brandywine was called the Shire. Hobbits first became famous as a renowned part of the wider history during the quest of Erebor, and later during the War of the Ring. In the later ages, they had dwindled and their numbers had diminished, and although they still linger in the northwest of the Old World, they were rarely seen. They avoided the big folk with dismay, using their art of disappearing. In The Hobbit, it is mentioned that Gandalf was responsible for so many quiet lads and lasses going off into the blue for mad adventures. No female hobbits are depicted in Tolkien's stories doing so. However, Hobbit women do appear in his works, such as the formidable Lobelia Saxville Baggins, Sam's wife Rose Cotton, and Belladonna Took, one of the old Took's remarkable daughters, who is said to have given up adventuring upon marrying the respectable Bungo Baggins. Of course, these two would go on to have a child together, who would have apparently shared his mother's love for adventures. Their child was Bilbo Baggins. This brings us to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed this content, and if you did, then please let me know in the comments down below what races of Middle-earth you would like to see me cover in next videos. Anyway, that'll be it from me. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.